Paul Mullen here for Garrett365 with Coach Tom Bosley. The Southern Rams have defeated the Mountain Ridge Miners 53-49. Coach, a tight game and a hard-fought game, too.
It was really physical. I thought their kids played as hard as they could play, and I thought our people did as well. We used 8 or 9 people. They used probably 10, and I thought both teams really got after it. And they made a heck of a run in the end. We're up 10 or so. They got steals they needed, hit threes they needed, got to the foul line when they had to. But I was really proud of the fact we kept our poise. When they tied it, you could look at our players, and they didn't have any anxiety. They didn't seem to be nervous because we practiced those situations a whole lot.
As you look at this game in relation to you're coming off the Christmas break and everything, you haven't played in about a week. Does that figure into how this game played out, or was this exactly the way you thought it would play out?
The game went about like I thought it would go. We saw them and scouted them, and they gave Allegheny their best game in terms of local teams playing Allegheny, who's the most talented in the area because of the size. And they're bigger than Mountain Ridge, but Mountain Ridge is a lot bigger than us. But every game's going to be that way. We're small. But the gap, the thing that hurt us with the distance from the last game was we didn't practice every day. And kids got to be in gyms, especially with shooting. And I thought for the most part we shot it fairly well. It was nice to see Tyler Fazenbecker step to the line there in the end. And we did that by design. I thought he was on with at the free throw line and had fixed his mechanics from the last time he'd been to the line, and I just thought he felt good about it, and I was proud of the fact that as a junior he stepped the line and made 2, so that was pretty big.
As a coach, you're never where you want to be unless you win the championship for the season. Are you where you want to be now, considering where you thought you would be at the beginning of the season?
Where you want to be is a tough question because it's hard to put that in perspective in terms of the distance, because it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, and when we really have to be good is in February, and our players are well aware of that. We don't have middle season doldrums, and we don't have times where we don't work hard and we take breaks because we shorten practices, because all those cliches and things that doesn't come into play. Are we where we want to be? We're glad to be 6-2. We're glad to be second in the area because we should be. Allegheny beat us. That'll be an interesting game here when they come here at the end of the month. Between now and then we have a lot of work to do. We're getting better, maybe not at the speed that we thought we might, but it's a transition for these kids. We're slower offensively than we need to be. Sometimes that means we cut slow and play slow, but I mean we play with more patience and shoot less frequently on the offensive end, and defensively we're trying to limit them to 1, and we didn't because they kicked us on the glass at times tonight, especially critical times. And it seems like when those balls go their way and they get a couple putbacks and miss, then they'll get the long carom that doesn't matter if you're 7 foot, you're not going to get, and they happen to get those at one possession. But we're small. We have to box on every possession. We didn't do it. We had a real critical breakdown on a free throw, but I think the guy came from outside the 3, and if he did, it's probably a violation. But for the most part, it was even up in terms of officiating was fine. Those guys worked their rear ends off. I thought they had a good game, and I thought overall, Mountain Ridge had a good ball game, and I thought our kids responded well.
I know coaches sometimes fret that they only have so many minutes to dole out in a game. Is there a guy that's really been busting it at practice for you that ought to get a shout out?
Well, we have a lot of guys that are busting our end. For the most part, almost all our players do that every day in practice. There's 5 coaches, so there's 10 eyes watching those kids all the time, and we push them pretty hard. Is there a player we're leaving out? No, because they either have a weakness, like say they can't defend a perimeter player, or they can't run the offense. There are a couple kids there that are getting more time. Bryson Bernard got a minute tonight. We had planned he'll get more tomorrow because he'll have to. They're big and they're strong and they're physical, and he'll have to get more tomorrow unless we just play super and happen to shoot it really well and play well early. But I mentioned him only because he got a minute tonight. I think Gephart's been really good off our bench. Cameron Nichols getting better and better and better in every ball game. Shvatik's been our most consistent sub and has done a really good job. Didn't get him in the second half, I don't think, tonight, but didn't have that need because he's not a scorer. He's not a guy we wanted to foul on. And tonight that kind of dictated that. We got our lead. I was afraid to make too many changes because we wanted to extend it. But as it goes, they cut back in it and tied it. Overall, we're where we need to be with that. We have 13 players, and if we finish the season with 13, that's a pretty good plus because a lot of those kids on that bench are juniors.
All right, and then tomorrow, you mentioned it. Give us a precursor. Give us a scouting report.
We play Northern of Calvert County. Coach Steppel and I drove down a couple days ago to see them. They're very on a day we didn't have schools and didn't have a practice so that day, I don't believe. So anyhow, they're very talented. Their big 6'5", 210 kid in the middle is really talented. He's a college Division III player, low Division II. They got a 6'5" wing that's also very talented. Their point guard's really quick and fast, and they have 2 3-point shooters. They don't play them both at the same time. I'm glad of that. It seemed like they played one then the next and one then the next. I think what happens, though, is there's some things we do that we can hurt them with. The big kid won't guard the perimeter, and Brian Reams can shoot that perimeter jumper. And so we think we can answer with Brian at 6 foot, playing a 6'5" guy that's 210, and he won't leave the lane, and we can stick some things on him early that'll make them at least switch around, and Travis Newton could do the same thing. So I think we can hurt them as long as their pressure on the ball and their speed with their guards doesn't bother us. And I really think with Clay Todd and with Camden now gaining confidence and Tyler Fazenbecker's getting better, I think the longer the season goes, the less pressure is going to bother us. But overall, it's a 3A school. It's a big school. It's a great challenge. I'm really glad we're playing them. I'm really glad we won tonight. So we'll come in with an attitude of we can't let it slip here, we can't lose at home kind of thing. So we're really looking forward to tomorrow's challenge at 5 o'clock rather than a later game. It's a 5 to get them back, and they'll go home tomorrow early. We have a freshman game at 1:15, a JV at 3, and a varsity at 5. And the amazing thing is, with this weather and freezing, we got that place packed tonight. We need to keep building and building and get all those people back that used to follow us through everything. And we have smart fans. Those people were cheering us on when we needed it. When it got tied, those people jumped on board and helped those kids through that. Even some of our kids mentioned how nice our crowd was to help us. So I thought it was a pretty cool night.
All right, Tom Bosley, good luck tomorrow, and congratulations tonight.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it.
Paul Mullen for Garrett365.